your vision?
Well, I saw, it was one of those things where I was seeing a large collection of things, not all of which I remember.
Mm.
I tend to have that occur when there's a pretty, I think when the Holy Spirit is even upon me and working within my mind, there's a lot of things that pass through, and nothing very vivid or memorable, but
it's okay.
Very notable, I think, or very significant. But they are significant, but not easy to remember, is what I mean. Anyways, something I saw both while you were talking and also after I closed my eyes was I think I saw like a picture of the globe, and even more specifically the continent of America. And I just saw nothing. It was not a particular substance or anything, but it was just this multiplying, I think it had like a blue color. It's kind of multiplying from the east to the west. And I think it had some correlation with something generational. So there was the time on the globe was passing very quickly. I think it began with one person, and that person had a family or offspring. And that offspring, it was like what I envisioned to be like the spreading of a culture. So I saw that this culture was being built within the singular family, and that his children carried that same culture, and their children carried that same culture. And then as this community of family grew, then this whole community affected a completely separate communities, and it began to grow exponentially, sweeping across, as time passed, across this continent. And I think it was destined to cover the entire globe. That's one of the greatest things I remember from what I saw. And the other things I can't remember too well. I remember there was one very interesting point where I saw, I think it may have actually been the two of us were walking through this doorway to out of I know not what and into I know not what. But I saw that behind us, as we were going through this door, the place we were exiting, all of a sudden I saw the snake was slithering, not paying any attention to us, but going at a distance past where we were as we entered that doorway. And I don't think it was actually a specific one of us, it may have been you or it may have been me, kind of reached over with a sword directly above the snake's head and actually shaved off it's basically all of its back scales. So it wasn't, I think that may have mortally damaged or wounded the snake, or maybe it just severely damaged it. I don't know if it killed it or not, but obviously it was a really big damage to the snake. And then we had almost the top layer where often the design, if the snake has it, is of this top layer of scale. And that's really all I can remember from the many things that I saw. Those are the only things that I can remember. I think the first one has more of a direct and discernible meaning than the second one. I don't know what the second one means.
Well, the second one has to do with your understanding about who is a snake, or what is a snake rather, in your life. The snake is a certain kind of wisdom, if you will, a certain kind of counsel. Unfortunately, it's very appealing to your mind. This culture of people around us from a different wisdom. I mean, we could be really from the Lord was different. I'm sorry to see that. So that's why Paul warned, do not walk in the fashion of this world or the will of this world, So he warned again and again, by the renew your mind, get your mind right, in a different way. But we think we know how to do that all the time, So unfortunately, that's not the case. Or else, Paul will not do that, right? So we know the fact matter is all the epistles is addressing people who are no less aware of the things that the apostle possessed. I'm so sorry to see that. In the end, it is wisdom, what kind of discernment you have about things. Who you listen to? Why you make your decisions? What kind of relationship or culture you're forming? You can send to. So, and most unaware, the attracted or distracted by what the Spirit can do in different level, in different tier, in different elements. Okay, so but they're not willing to really seeking wisdom. It's hard to explain to people. Wisdom is translated so many colors, so many shades. But Paul understands when he talks about wisdom. So is my definition of wisdom is that in Christ with Jesus, so wisdom the wisdom is Christ Jesus, who is righteousness, redemption, and holiness, right? Do you know what I mean? And if I will tell you, it's things beyond the inward in the ark of the Lord. In the ark of the Lord is only residues or token something that are real in God, holy unto God. And you can't be a real priest and the king for the Lord in a way that the Lord fully said, I seal with my approval, right? Without those substances, without those realities. So you think about it? Do you understand? But most people would be happy to have a peek into the Holy Holies and get out and tell people they know what they say, or they have abide in the manna, whatever, or use the rod for a while. I mean, I'm not directly talking about people, okay? I'm just saying that that's what you want. That's when that's what you want. You will see many people study the patterns of the feast, patterns of setup. They pay so much attention, try to dig it out through the study to prove this is a type of shadow of Christ Jesus. Do you understand what's to try to unlock the scripture in the Old Testament so that the New Testament can be fully understood? And that's very helpful. I enjoy those readings and I appreciate those readings. But do you have it? Are you operating in it? If the manna is a token to the real manna, do you think those manna are those merely explanations, expositions of the setup? Or the real stuff? So if the hidden manna is the real stuff, consider these general angels of food, right? Then what sustains really give to you? What it really teaches you? The Bible clearly tells us what it teaches us. I'll give you manna in the wilderness, shoes that never wear out, so that you can know the word come out my mouth. Living word. The manna is not living word, it's stagnant, it cannot be pretended. This one was preserved for longevity, right? After, the permissible time of retainment, right? So this is my point, the usefulness. So God make it exceptional, miraculously retained and kept for others to talk. So some things supposed to prettily fade away, pass away corrupt. And right now God said, listen, let me keep it intact, uncorruptible, to remind you there's something always living. And every day I give to you. You better have that living word of the Lord. So here's it. So you study all those. Past. They are only explanation. They are basically a proof, a pathway to something that is living every day for certain people. Now these slides, it was just everyday collective manner, right? So we know that is not was really real. So what is then? It is from the spiritual side. Amen. From the spiritual side. Every day you have harmonia here is the counsel of the Lord. Now what the mean counsel of the Lord, we ask? We all said, counsel of the Lord, I know the counsel of the Lord, tell me this, that. Again, the education in different light. The counsel of the Lord in the end, in Deuteronomy 8, so you are, I'm your father. He said, I let you hungry, let you go through all the troubles, so I want to know what's in your heart. So, the two, very important. Sorry. So what God man get here every day? So you have a starting point, said, I didn't do anything with my life. My sustenance all come from God. But, hey, there's nothing good in me. If I don't have this, I'm going to die tomorrow. This is become a dust. So you better know what's in your heart. The only thing presentable to you is a willing heart to be a son. Now, how many willing to be a son? Good question. Everybody say, I want to be a son. But not at this point. No. Not treat as if tomorrow you don't have the food, you're going to die. You're not going to survive, you're going to dead. You're going to be dead body on the roadside. Do you know God like that? Than desperate, not desperate than life. No, not many people do that. Now, when you see a man, here's the deal. God is going to examine. That's his content. That's his template. That's a starting point. He can reveal who he is as a true father to you. What we claim as a father, all Israelite children, all Christian children, he's the father of all spirits, right? But he was desiring a certain kind of relationship. He can be a father, unique kind of father to that unique son. And the son is very much templated. Father, there's no good thing in me. Everything good comes from you. Now here's the deal. Is the son lack wisdom, understanding? He tastes the food, it tastes good, right? Satisfy, sweet to his soul, sweet to his heart, right? So it is good. Very interesting. So every son knows what to taste. So the good things taste good. If you taste the Father, now you taste the Word of God is good. It's a sweet, satisfying to your soul. Then grow in it. Crave for more. Crave for spiritual food. Well, how many people crave for spiritual food? Do you see anybody craving spiritual food? Real spiritual food? You, my witness, do you see many? Do we not have food? Do I not have food? How many crave for it? We don't crave for it and demanding to be treated in a certain light or certain right. Can it be done? Seek ye first, seek earnest, knock with, ask, knock, and right, it can be given, right? So, unless something's given, can you claim you have it or you benefited by it? Big question. So, again, come to the original point. God wants to test what is in our heart. What you really need. What satisfies you? What's really the sustains your life? We all said, I don't want the word to come out of the mouth of God. Well, not really, right? In this light examine it, not many craving for it. Just happy go about whatever they have. Now the other side, if we don't have this, God cannot reveal himself as a father. So everything he does is discipline. It's not establishment. It's not real sharing. His inheritance is not going about his business, am I right? Whoa! Sorry. Means you have no land yet. You can't be a priest. You can't receive the sacrifice from God. You can't come out of the temple, declare in his name what he wants, his will to people. You're just still on the end of survivors. Being prepared, being qualified, being called but never actually elected or received yet. So the first and the second we treat as the highest form of spirituality. Do you know that? If we have somebody craving for spiritual milk, craving for spiritual food, we're always overwhelmed and said, that is a wonderful believer. He has a heart for the Lord. How much he loves the Lord. If we have somebody ready to yield to the discipline of the Lord, keenly to obey God, am I making sense to you? So we said that's wonderful obedience, serving the Son, am I? So, have you had someone who can come in his name? Represent his will. That's why Jesus said, I'm the bread from heaven. I'm the true bread from heaven. So this is one token I'm telling you. The reality is far from our wildest imaginations. I'm just give you one token. What is in ark? The hidden manna. How you get the hidden manna? How you get that kind of fellowship, provision from the Lord? I want you to raise up your hand and pray for yourself. Actually, there's something the Lord wants me to do. I don't think I did that. I think I did that with your dad and your mom. I want you to breathe in and out for 7 times. Deeply breathe in and out 7 times. There are 7 chords in human life. It's hard to explain, but there are 7 spirits, right? So 7 flows. So there's earthly provisions, you don't have to know them. They're not senses per se. And then the heavenly provisions. What I want you to breathe in and out so that you understand, at least from this point on, God gave these laws, the roots or the channels, that your dependence, delight in the earthly provision, begin to long for the renewal of your life in the heavenly flow, in the heavenly provision. It sounds mystical, and I can't really put it in words for your mind. But you understand, provision from heaven are different from provision from below. And this one moment I pray God to seal your mind. You ask the first vision what it is, I will tell you God is going to make a new people. He need a culture to be populated. And you are them people. Don't think strange. Not everybody is Abraham, but when Abraham showed up, not everybody is Noah in the old. When Noah showed up, things changed. The second vision, evidently, I think there are some people, some idea, whether through your own reading or I most suspect it's from people around you, continue to tell you be somebody they have no idea what they want to be actually. No idea. They never go through God. They never really love you enough to pray for you to a point they really know who you need to be. Know what I'm making sense? It's not that the love is ingenuine or real. They just don't know. Their life is not in that realm, in that place. The source is different. Their counsel, their vision is different. And they have become a competition to the vision God gave to you, to the direction God wants you to go. To continue, linger, and what is the word? Hiding from behind. I'm not saying you haven't dealt with it or dismissed it. Don't see that you never invite those yourself or it's hinder your walk. I'm not saying that, but it's a presence, am I right? Time to time, it can be very threatening. You have to deal with it. Only you hold your hand, you use the sword to deal with it yourself. You want to grow up, and authority powers is something you have to do. I had to do it constantly myself. Season after season when God said, hey, what you built, what you heard is nonsense. It's your own follies, your own imagination, your own speculation, your own design. Get rid of it. Then we'll move on. Give me the open slate. Think I write something on it. Well, you don't know how many times I come to God. I did that. And eventually I learned, I don't write anything on my book. Listen, I don't design anything in my life. That's not brag or humility. That's nothing to do with that. That's just wisdom. The self-discipline. I learned well enough. Anything else doesn't stand. Useless for me. Useless for God. So I learned how to do it. May the Lord bless you, and never think it's robbery for Him to do that for you. That's a problem, man. You think God is unhappy. He's only do that with His beloved. It's the truth. The one He really cares. The more you have, the more is required of you. You want to have more? Well, those things might be done away with, so the devil don't stick in. The thing given to you cannot be misused, abused to damage, or mismanaged by you. Lord bless you. I want you to speak in tongues right now. Receive the impartation. I don't use the word. I don't use that word often. I want you to see. You should not see vision yourself. I want you to see the beauty of let the roots of your life go deep. Let the trunk of life go broad. Let the inner fabrics and the tissues of your life be full of vitality. Do not be showy people. Do not care what man thinks important or the world think that's plausible, Do not learn man's praise. And let me tell you something very important. Do not seek the glory in man's eyes. Especially when everybody praise you, and the Lord said so, you know that. Everybody see you good. Well, that's the time for you to withdraw. Not to say I don't deserve this, I don't want to miss it. No, this is just to learn to let it go, Not foolishly. So you don't idolize anything, you enslaved by anything. I'm a free man. I'm a son of God. The whole universe, the whole creation is my Father's. What you can bless me with? That's not arrogant, but that's a good starting point, the balance of the seduction and the imagination of our own heart. To be cruel to your heart. People say, you can't, that's too much, that's too much. What about the crucifixion? That's more cruel. So when people say, hey, don't be too hard on yourself on this point, I will tell you, forget about it. They don't know what they're talking about. Be there. Be always reduced. When you have something good, always remember there is a time and there is a point. Nothing is good in you. I'm telling you, the real reason God really can trust me is because I don't think I learned anything. That's not the humility of theology. Good point. I know I'm picked up by God from both sides. I know. And my love to Him is not in words. I don't need man to tell me. It's not in tears. It's not in beautiful, poetic. It's in my well-being. Only those don't yet know the depths of love, they will always say, I love God, love God. Well, do you see the Lord say that all the time? I love you, Father. He said, Father, if it's thy will, this is pleasing to you. He's far on the other spectrum, the end of love. He is love. He is expressing God's love. He don't need to brag about it. He didn't need to be uncertain about it. He has to reinforce that in his own consciousness. He is one with God. That's why Paul has the audacity to say that I don't want anyone in the world to judge me. I want to account for. That's not arrogant. He said, I am going to always bring myself to the judgment side of God, the side of God. God hold me accountable. And always say, I don't want to be disqualified. I don't want to be disqualified. I don't want to be disqualified. Well, that's man. Have a lot of bold, confident thing to say. A divine dichotomy, but is that there is a mystery of oneness there. Let us see what you see. You see something again. Okay, so.
I saw an interesting vision. Just not finished seeing it. I realized I was holding a sword of almost like the purest, brightest light was the make of the metal or the blade itself. Didn't have much detail of the handle, but I did know that it was so bright you couldn't even make out. You couldn't tell the shape or even the how sharp it was because of how brightly it was shining. But I knew it was a very sharp, durable sword, deadly sword. But I found myself after seeing this in a very, very large, almost like a It was like a throne room, but I knew it wasn't the throne room of the Lord. It was another place, and I never saw the throne either. But it was just like this vast, large hall that was almost made entirely of intricate gold design, and it was just very, very large and rectangular in size. And there were many, many intricate objects and decorations and.
Give me an example.
Just very majestic, and I couldn't see in a lot of detail, but it was like very. It was very brightly lit. It wasn't dark or anything or ominous, but it was still very excessive almost. Not to a disgusting degree. Just something about it was very, very. Like, I don't know. I had a
overly elaborate or something.
Yeah, but not to a degree where you would particularly feel like kind of repelled by it.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me a lot of something having to do with what you'd see in like excessive religion, even with say Catholics, Catholic priests with their their places of where they reside and the way they dress. It was just something that was very akin to that about the appearance of the place. And what I saw happen was from somewhere in that room. I didn't see who and I didn't see from what, but these knives, different and very particularly designed knives, were thrown in my direction in order to pierce me. And so the first one that came towards me was actually of similar direction. I mean, it was of similar design to the place around me. So it was like a little white dagger about this big with a curling gold design.
Elegant design, okay.
So like one part of the handle went this way. I actually saw these things very intricately.
Yeah.
Like a gold handle, same color as the place, with a silvery white blade that was only one-sided.
Yes.
And that was flown at me, and as easy as I ever could have done anything. And as if I didn't find myself surprised at all. I just swept it past me with my sword. So I basically carried the knife with my sword from myself and deflected it onto the wall behind me, where it pierced the wall. And then second after that, a much larger and even barely distinguishable blade was thrown, because it was like a very, very ugly, black, horrid design.
I saw it.
You couldn't even hardly tell the difference between the handle and the blade. It was just so disfigured and black. And there were objects about it that almost seemed like it had some
evil,
dark form of life in it.
Yeah.
If you could even call it life.
Yes.
Like it wasn't just steel and metal or wood.
Yes.
It was like something living and just very distinctly horrible about this blade. And
it's all like oil, when on the oil substance.
There's almost a stench coming from it.
Exactly.
Dude, you couldn't even anything. Something had
black oil, the thing make it rude, so.
Yeah, it just looked very mutated and just
distorted,
like a deathly.
Yeah.
But the same process went over, and without any hesitation that I had before, just swept it into the wall, and it was carried in abruptly into the wall behind me. And so this continued. I saw, once again, I saw what was more of like a standard silver blade with a wooden handle. Like in comparison to others, something about this seemed almost very genuine and very. The blade didn't even, and this third blade didn't even seem to be, to have the purpose to kill as the others seemed to, but was almost more of like a kitchen knife of sorts, because it had like a wooden handle, like I already mentioned. But it was still thrown at me as to kill me. And so when it did come, I still just let it sweep aside and hit into the broad wall behind me. And I think there may or may not have been more knives. I mean, this is kind of hard to. I'm not as good as Nicole in remembering details super well. because I don't usually have such intricate visions. But I think there may have been other knives with different designs and representations. But at the end, what I do remember is that I kind of twisted the sword almost in like I even would if I had a sword, because I like to do this sometimes, but I would twist it this way, and then grab it with both hands and slam it into the floor, piercing the floor beneath me. Mm-hmm. And instantly, like a white wave of power went forth from where I thrust the sword.
Yes.
And all the lights, I guess this place had been candlelit. It wasn't like any sort of electricity, so it may have been, I guess in that light, more of a centuries-old design. But it went dark because this thrust of air and power from the sword had slid out any other candle light, source of light. And I saw that the four walls that made this rectangular place were just flattened on each side. They like a box would be open, so the two walls on this side fell, and the two walls on this side fell.
That, yeah.
Like an opening of a box almost.
Yeah.
And what I remember as the last part of the vision was I took the sword out and just threw it up, so almost as if it was no longer mine anymore, and just went up into the sky. And I know that it was brought back down by Jesus himself. He had the sword in his hand. He landed directly next to me, holding the sword. And I think he was dressed, I couldn't see quite clearly, but he was dressed in a mighty robe and in armor at the same time. So it's hard to imagine it, but he was dressed in how he's usually envisioned, I think, with his...
This armor, this color?
The armor he was wearing was
plate,
like
right? The plate is like that color, right?
Yeah.
So I see it. And then most of the detail you describe, I see it visually in my mind. So
that's the thing. He was wearing the tunic, like he would, like a Jewish...
Yes.
The typical, like, kind of sandy brown tunic, but over this was the armor.
Yes.
And I could see...
I didn't see the fullness. I just see portions of the things. Yes.
Very similar to me. I didn't see... Yeah. I wasn't even able to see his face distinctly.
Well, let me just explain this, which you might have some understanding yourself already. So tell me what this...
Well, no, I just remember the final part of the vision was he, after landing next to me, brought me close to him like this, almost as a friend or a son, and pointed, I think it was north, towards something that was yet to be done, I think. So with his sword, he pointed to something that else was coming. It's like it was just the beginning of something.
Yes. Go ahead.
There's a lot to that vision. I don't have
sure.
Because I only just now shared.
Yeah, in general. The place, let me just be shorten for you to provide some context. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, the place is the glory of this world. It's confined, it's deceitful, actually nothing hold together. Right? It's like a box, right? So box you in, and then different testing come to you. And test means different offering in your life the world can offer. Now, in mind challenge you, so it's going to be you're going to fight. I think the fight is about the mind, the battle in the mind, right? So, making sense? The battle of ideas, basically. So, in this light, I don't think you will be endangered or whatever. Just you go through training, right? You like a soldier and go through training. This is the training ground for you. Yeah. Now, I'm going to. You have anything more to share? Because I'm going to wrap it up real quick here. I want to.
This is fresh on my mind.
Okay, good.